All right, post-game time from Neville Arena. I guess we're down to one more game, the Alabama game at the end, Taylor. But a good one tonight. This was one of those games where the opposing team, the visitors, never led. You had Auburn leading all night long, had an early 22-point lead. Ole Miss came back, cut it to six, and then Auburn put them away, winning this game, going away 106 to 76 tonight. 26 and 2 Auburn. I've got about 8 takeaways over here, but I'll let you start us off. What'd you think of this Auburn team tonight?
They looked like the number one team in the country. There have been concerns from fans over the past two games just because they haven't been blowouts. So if you were looking for a blowout to renew your confidence in the fact that this team is the best team in the country, what more can you ask for than a 106-76 win over a conference opponent?
Let's start earlier this year. We were in Tuscaloosa when Mark Sears became the 85th person in Division One college basketball history to do it. Tonight, we got to see Johni Broome enter the 2,500 point club. He did it very early when he got his 10th points. There's a lot of reasons why you enter a 2,500 point club. One of the reasons is staying power, but Johni Broome had a big night tonight. 24 more points. Didn't get the double double. Had 9 rebounds according to my counts, but he's a guy that you noticed on the way down, starting to get a little love about that National Player of the Year thing again.
Yeah, the last time that I checked prior to tip off, he was the favorite, which is the first time that I've seen that since before his ankle injury. I have not looked at the odds since the game ended. Not sure if they've changed or not. I will check after we are done here. But he's looking to get more comfortable every game on his ankle. He'd obviously been playing and been producing, but he wasn't as explosive and didn't seem as comfortable being aggressive around the rim, in my opinion, as he did prior to hurting his ankle. But he's looking to get some of that bounce back, some of his explosion back that we saw prior to the injury. And he was 1 rebound away from tying the single season double-double record at Auburn. So he
Yeah,
was trying very hard to get that last rebound, but didn't happen
I, w-
tonight.
I don't know if Bruce knew, but it felt like it was if we'd have known one more rebound would have done it, probably would have left him in the game. But there's other games to happen. He can get a double double in. A couple of your comments. We'll get some more things here. But Auburn wins it 106-76. Post game continues here at Neville Arena. Our Stu's first in tonight with the goodness gracious. Rick D says, "Well, Crimson Jimmy, where are you at? LOL." I'm at Neville Arena, dude. You gotta use your eyes. 25 and 2 Troy. That all but sews up the SEC championship. Let's see if Alabama wins out. Auburn still has to lose again, right? Because it's 2 game lead, so 3 to play. Alabama has to win all of theirs. Auburn will have to lose at Kentucky or at Texas A&M. So not quite done yet, but pretty 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 good bet. At some point, Auburn will be cutting down what I think will be their fifth regular season SEC championship, if I remember that correct, and third under Bruce Pearl. That's pretty impressive there. More of your comments coming up. I did want to ask you about your biggest takeaway tonight. I'll give you mine, then you give me yours. I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go lack of turnovers again. This is a Chris Beard Ole Miss defense that can be suffocating at times. They were in Tuscaloosa when they held Alabama way below their average. Auburn just had 8 turnovers tonight, Taylor. 8. That's 8. A lot less than 10. And that's just an amazing number there. And they did that against Georgia too. Only 8 turnovers. This team protects and values the basketball about as good as anybody in the country.
Yeah, they have had, I don't know the exact number, but they've had a few single-digit turnover games. My biggest takeaway was the fact that Tahaad Pettiford, he only had 4 points. The past 3 games, he hasn't been scoring like we know he can, but he had a career-high 6 assists tonight. So even if his shots aren't falling, he's proving that he can be productive in, assisting his teammates. He's still in the plus, I believe, on the box score in the plus minus. So I thought that was a positive, with all things given. He was able to help produce offensively, even though he wasn't scoring.
Suffocating, no breathing type of butt whipping. That gets us to the defense from our stews there. This defense was so good tonight. They built that big early lead, and they continue to do such a good job. I mean, Padula had such a at the end of the first half, got to 11 points in the first half, and they really controlled him throughout the game. Their big scorer, Malik Dia. So they really never could get into their offense. When you talk about this team as the best team in the country, number one in the rankings for the seventh straight week, you can't talk about them and not mention what their defense does.
Yeah, and we've talked a number of times about when their shots aren't falling as a team, their defense has kept them in a number of games. There have been, I believe they're 6-0 in games decided by 5 points or less. And that's something that, and I've said this a number of times, that we've seen previous teams would fold in those situations. This team hasn't. And I think that you should give a lot of props to the defense in those situations. Yes, tonight their defense played well, but I think in the tight games when their shots aren't falling, shots were falling tonight. They scored 106 points, but defense travels, and defense will keep you in games when you're not scoring as efficiently as you would like to be.
Yeah. Efficiently, though, early on, Auburn hit 4 of 4 of their first three. They hit 6 of their first 7 threes. Chad Baker was 4 of 5 from three, and Janai had 24, but Chad Baker 22. It's the best offensive game that I've seen in person. I know you've seen them all, but it's the best offensive game I've seen from Chad Baker-Mazara that I've been here in Neville Arena this year. I don't know how you feel about his play tonight, but he had his shot. He had his stroke tonight.
He did, and he's another one that throughout conference play has had a couple games where he wasn't as productive offensively as we've seen him be. But it takes a game like this just to get your confidence back, get your shot back, and especially at home because, like Alabama, we've seen Auburn shoot better on the road than they have at home. So I'm sure that is a boost of confidence as they're about to hit the road for 2 games. Only 1 game left here, but I think that probably made him feel a lot better heading into the SEC tournament, the NCAA tournament, because he's getting his rhythm back, and he's looking more like himself after a couple games earlier in conference play that weren't his best.
Couple of Ja'Kai Howard comments. Clay says Ja'Kai Howard hit 2 big threes to put the nail in the coffin there. And then Josh says 1 through 9 was as dominant as they have been in recent memory. But man, I hope Ja'Kai keeps his head on straight because him and Pettiford could be huge for us next year. Don't want to look past this year, but Ja'Kai Howard continues to get just a little few more crumbs of playing time, and he keeps looking more and more comfortable every time he gets in there.
Yeah, and I was amazed and impressed that he came in and hit those 2 back-to-back shots after he has not seen the court for a hot second. So the fact that he's able to sit for as long as he has and then get put in the game and hit 2 massive shots like that is very impressive. And I agree. I mean, I hope that he can keep his head on straight and hopefully get more minutes down the road because it's exhausting. It's a long season. You're playing a lot of games, and having fresh legs off the bench, as many as you can, is going to help when, guys start to get tired. SEC tournament, you're playing, if you have no buys, which Auburn and Alabama will both have buys, but I mean, you could play 5 straight days. So it's a grind throughout the end of the season. And if he can, like whoever commented, I can't remember who said, brought this up, but if he can keep his head on straight, he will be someone good to have coming off the bench down the stretch.
AU Clay liked the Howard threes, but he makes a good point here that Chad Baker and Johni Broome look like they're actually getting healthy. I will say this just from watching tonight in person and him moving around on the bench. I thought this was probably the best I'd seen Johni Broome less limp tonight than I'd seen him in a long, long time.
Yeah, I agree. And I was starting to feel like he was getting back to his himself last game when he had the 30 points, 31 points, 14 rebounds. But I agree. I think I don't know how much it is, the soreness is starting to go away or if it's mental. You never know if he's had a little bit of a mental block, just being precautious, worried about re-injuring it because I mean, I can imagine that a freak accident like that happening when you return to playing, it's probably lingering in the back of your head, be careful, protect yourself, protect your ankle. But I agree. I think that he's looking as close to full strength as he has since the injury.
Jordan says, Jim, if both Alabama and Auburn are shooting like they did tonight and last night, would you give the edge to Auburn because of their defense? Not just their defense, Jordan, but also the way they possess the basketball. They don't turn it over as much as Alabama. So for Alabama to beat Auburn, they'll have to shoot. You don't have to hit 22 threes like they did last night, but they'd have to have a really good night shooting and not turn the basketball over and play a little better defense. But if you get Auburn's shooting performance that you had tonight, what were they, 60% from the floor, 11 or 20 from three? If you get that to couple with the fact that Auburn doesn't turn it over a lot, and the fact that their perimeter defense is really good, as we saw in Tuscaloosa, I do give the edge to Auburn. We saw them play already once, and you got that result because of Auburn's defense and the lack of turnovers. And Auburn shot the ball really well in Coleman Coliseum. So something would have to change in the final home game for me not to give the edge to Auburn. In fact, the edge goes up bigger because it's here in not Jordan here, but Neville Arena. You and I were talking, Jordan, here earlier when we looked at the construction over at the
Yeah.
stadium as the sun was setting. So it'll be football season before you know it. 8 blocked shots today, too. And I think that's another thing we don't talk enough about is the length that Auburn can throw out there with the Twin Towers at the same time, and Broome and Dillon. But also Chaney Johnson is so good at blocks without fouling. This team had 8 blocks tonight against an Ole Miss team that's an NCAA tournament team. Much like I said about Mississippi State last night, they are a second weekend team. They're a team that can easily go to the Sweet 16. And you had 8 blocks on them, 20 assists. The numbers were unreal tonight for this Auburn team.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't think there's much, if anything, to complain about, in my opinion. I mean, I need to go back and look at the stats and everything more in depth, but I feel like this is going to be one of those games where if you want something to complain about, you're probably going to have to nitpick a little.
Yeah. NH3425. Haven't seen that many blocks since Kessler and Jabari Smith Jr. Man, it was so long ago. What was that? 2021. I mean, how
Yeah.
long ago was that? It wasn't that long ago. Even I
No.
remember that. Patrick with a good point. I was going to bring this up. It's down at the bottom of my sheet here. These are the notes I take during the game. It's a big crumble mess, but I will tell you that down at the bottom I wrote because in the starting lineup tonight, Lamont Butler for Kentucky, but also a guy I did not think would be back before the weekend, Jackson Robinson. So 2 more of their players back in the lineup for Kentucky. They're playing tonight. Don't know how they'll play. It was an 8 o'clock start. We'll see how they play and see if they're still healthy come Saturday when Auburn gets there 12 noon Central on ABC. But Kentucky will be about as close to full strength as they've been in a very long time when Auburn goes to Rupp Arena to try to play them a little bit later on. I've lost it now. So many comments flying by, but somebody said, I let my 1-year-old stay up past his bedtime, 7 p.m., to watch the best basketball team tonight. Hopefully, it won't be the best basketball team at Auburn in his lifetime, but maybe it will be. And you want him to see it and make some good memories, take some pictures with the kid. Pretty good. Game balls tonight. Let's hand them out, Taylor. Who you got?
I mean, it's hard not to say Johni. He led the team in points. He led the team in rebounds, as he typically does. And he continues to look more dominant when they run the offense through him. He really can't be stopped. And Dunaway, I don't know if you noticed this, but at some point in the second half, probably like 6-ish minutes left in the second half, he was down in the corner in front of the student section. He had the ball in his hand. He stops in the middle of a possession, takes his wristband off that he had on, throws it into the student section, continues dribbling the basketball, beats two Ole Miss guys that are playing defense, makes a layup, and then just turns around and plays defense. And I was like, what is going on? What, like, at this point you're playing with your feet. At this point you're saying scoreboard. At this point you're saying you cannot stop me, so let me have a little bit of fun. I mean, I want to give a game ball to the entire team. This team is just so fun to watch.
I don't know who had the scout tonight, which assistant coach, but that's who gets my game ball. Maybe it was Stephen Pearl, who comes on our show every Tuesday. Had a great video of him on the sideline tonight, coaching up a little bit in a timeout. But whoever had the scout tonight, because they were ready for Ole Miss's defense. They tried to front Johni Broome, and you had a couple of early lobs over the top of that and the early threes. Whatever defensive game plan Ole Miss came out with, it was the wrong one, and Auburn hit them early. And then Ole Miss fought back, and then Auburn punished them for a 106-76 win down here at Neville Arena. All right, we're down to one more home game in Tuscaloosa and one more home game here in Auburn, and then we're off to Nashville for the SEC tournament. Then it'll be Selection Sunday, and then the madness starts. Do yourself a favor as you wrap up here. If you haven't seen it yet, go check out the end of the Maryland-Michigan State game. Maryland misses a buzzer beater, rebound, dribble shot from half court, nothing but the bottom of the net. Michigan State walks it off. And it's a bad way to lose when you're taking the buzzer beater, misses, rebound, dribble, heave, and it goes in. Madness is going to be spectacular.
That is what my I have not had a chance to look yet because I was rushing to get up here, but my family group chat, because half my family's Michigan fans, half my family's Michigan State fans, and the group chat, my family group chat was very active. So I'm guessing that is exactly what they were talking about, and that is
Yep.
exactly what they were excited about. So happy for
Yeah.
them.
Scott Van Pelt, big Maryland grad, at the game there in College Park tonight. And he does a segment called Bad Beats, usually talking about gambling. This is just a flat out bad beat for his Terps. No bad losses for Auburn, 26-2. They get the win tonight over Ole Miss. And now we're off to road games this weekend on Saturday, 12 o'clock Central Time, Auburn at Kentucky, 3 o'clock Central Time, Alabama at Tennessee. We'll have live post game after each one of those coming up on Saturday. For Taylor Korn, I'm Jim Dunaway, and that is the Basketball Show.